Howdy, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Inciting Incident. I'm your host, Tim Shields. As a writer and a student of the human experience, I love stories because stories become the myths that help us understand who we are. If for some serendipitous reason you're new here, the podcast is called The Inciting Incident because when I was a young man and I became obsessed with an artist, a musician, a saint, or a sinner, I wanted to know the human journey behind the public figure. Because if we want to get somewhere, it's best to study those who have been there. That's what life experience is. It's the bridge that gets us there, wherever that there is for you. Our life's experience is the bridge of who and what we became. With that said, if you boil it down, there are two types of people in the world. There's victims and there's creators. Victims are those who believe life is happening to them. Creators are those who believe life is happening for them. With that said, my next guest, Ken Miller, could have easily been a victim. Promising Ivy League student turned alcoholic, alcoholic turned homeless, homeless turned into incarceration. And yet through the miracle of fortitude, humility, faith, and grace, today Ken Miller is an entrepreneur, performance coach, and speaker whose life journey is a powerful testament to transformation. But his path didn't begin with success, it began with struggle. Before stepping into the world of business and leadership, Ken faced a period of addiction that forced him to confront himself at the deepest level. What emerged from that experience wasn't just recovery, it was complete reorientation of identity, discipline, and purpose. From that turning point, Ken went on to build a career helping others do the same, translating hard-earned lessons into practical tools for resilience, clarity, and high performance. Today, he works with entrepreneurs, executives, and teams, guiding them to break through internal limitations and step into a more intentional, empowered version of themselves. Last but not least, he's a mentor. And I can't underestimate understate the importance of mentorship today. Also, Ken's book is available on Amazon, and it's called Becoming Ken: One Black Man's Journey from Ivy League to prison and back again. Ken, it's great to see you. Welcome. I've been looking forward to this because you have a really profound story.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Tim. Thank you.
I always start this podcast with basically the same question, which is, who were you, where were you, and did you have any idea who you wanted to be when you were 17?
Who I was the same person. I was Ken Miller. I was 17 years old, and we can just say I was entering Dartmouth College at age 17, Ivy League, National Merit Scholar. I was coming from Anchorage, Alaska, and I was a confused, broken, immature young man. That's who I was. So I was on Hanover, the campus of Hanover, New Hampshire, September 1980, 17 years old, and did not have a clue.
And what about, let's go back a little bit to your origin story.
So
your parents and etc.
Yeah. So I was born in 1962. I'm 63 years old now. And my mother was a white teenage runaway, and my father was a black pimp and drug dealer in New York City. And they had a union, and I was a byproduct. And my mother was a good Catholic girl, Irish Catholic, and put me up for adoption at birth. And so I did 6 years of foster homes. And then I was adopted by Irene and Sam Miller, moved to upstate New York, and then at age 12, I moved to Anchorage, Alaska. And I had a lot of experiences that were formative to how I saw the world, especially in my 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Mm-hmm. So then you go to Dartmouth and you major in fraternity and drinking, it sounds like.
Yeah, my major was fraternity and my minor was in drinking and drugs.
Yeah. And do you remember that first, I listened to some podcasts with you, and it sounds like you became an addict within 3 months. But do you remember sort of that first time you had a drink?
I mean, somewhat. You know, you go out. So what had happened was in high school, I had a half a beer. It's called Senior Skip Day. It's like an official day for the seniors in May of 1980. So I had a half a beer, whatever. And then I went off to college and I went to the fraternities because that's what you do to socialize. And I started drinking in October of 1980. By December, I am a really full blown alcoholic. And please understand what that means. All that means is that I have the inability to control how much I drink once I've started without any sense of certainty. I cannot go and say, I'm just going to have one beer. I can't just go and say, I can go and say it, but I can't control it. And so, and also I have the capacity to drink a lot. And then under the influence of enough alcohol and drugs, I make really bad decisions. But they were the right decisions at the time. They're just bad in the real world or the world of truth.
Yeah. And do you think that addiction was biochemical or mental or trauma
100,
based?
100%. I believe that.
All the
I do
above, or
not believe it had nothing to do with being beat as a child or being a foster home. We call them antecedents. What are the preceding ante to the event or experience?
Mhm.
I do not believe whatsoever in my emotional trauma. But what that does, though, is it allows you to justify and rationalize why you continue drinking or drugging. So you can say I was a functioning alcoholic in college. That's because Dartmouth protects the students. So a lot of the repercussions that I would have had if I was not on the Dartmouth campus, I would have had much more adverse reactions. But I didn't. I was protected. Okay. So then I get out. I get sober for 2 years. My graduation present was my first treatment center. I ended up doing 14 inpatient treatment centers. But I went to my first one, was sober for 2 years. And then this is what I was just talking about. I'm making
Mhm.
$50,000 a year in 1985. That's a lot of money. I am 22, 23 years old. I look good. I smell good. I dress well. And I thought I was cured. So now I can drink. No, because I'm not dealing with my trauma of my childhood. I'm not dealing with my father's difficulties. And so I started drinking on vacation in Hawaii after 2 years. And within 2 days, I'm out of control
Wow.
because I can't stop. I,
Mhm.
I, I don't have this shut-off valve or switch. So created a lot of problems. And then that was 1986, I relapsed. And you could pretty much say from 86 to 2007, I was either homeless, in prison, in jail, in treatment, or in a halfway house, three-quarter way house,
Wow.
sober living house.
Do you know
That's what I did
Neil
for the
Donald
next
Walsh,
21 years.
Conversations with God? Do you know that book? Well, I just interviewed him. It's a pretty wild story. He wound up
No, I
selling
do not.
5 million copies, but he got in
Mhm.
a car accident. He wound up
Right?
being homeless, all this stuff. So what is homelessness like? I mean, you're always in fight or flight, I would imagine. And maybe that's where the addiction comes in to numb that fight or flight. No? Okay.
No,
Yeah.
no, no, I'm not that guy. I am not that guy. I did not,
Mm.
no, I did not drink to numb out pain.
Hmm.
I drank because I'm an alcoholic. And it doesn't matter what I'm feeling. It usually will exacerbate whatever I'm feeling, but it was not based on how I was feeling. It was based on I was an alcoholic, and it's a long climb to get out of homelessness. And I wasn't unhoused, I wasn't underhoused, I was homeless. I was in the missions, I was in the abandoned homes, I was in abandoned cars, I slept outside on a piece of cardboard, and then my greatest aspiration on the streets was to get a weekly
Wow.
motel room. A weekly motel room. That means I had a great lick. That means I came up with $120 so I could get a weekly. Back in those days, that's all it cost. Okay. So, being homeless was a state of mind. It was obviously physically, emotionally, and spiritually. I was in the homelessness, and I would climb out a bit, and then as soon as I would relapse, and this is I go to treatment centers sometimes, and I talk to the individuals that are in the treatment, and I said, one of your biggest problems is that you're going to get well. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get well too quickly, and what that means is you're going to forget the pain. My buddy, a good friend in the program, he said, what brings you into the
Is it what?
rooms is a well-whooped butt, but he uses a different
Okay.
word. Is a well-whooped butt.
Yeah.
That's what brings you in. Pain brings you in. And you're seeing, so I'm talking about the rooms of recovery. So one of my things is you got 20 days and all of a sudden you smell good, you talk good, the girls are looking good to the girls, the guys are looking good, whatever. And now all of a sudden I got this. I don't need to do the work to get long-term recovery. And I've always said the biggest predictor of
Yeah.
long-term recovery is long-term recovery.
Yeah.
Literally.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
I'm coming up on 22 years.
I'm curious what you think of this. In my new book, Dream Tethering, I define a dream as the memory of what your soul envisioned for itself before it expressed human. So do you think this was part of a necessary spiritual journey you had to undergo for transformation, or was it just this path you fell down?
I hate to say, I hate to say it. My thoughts, because I'm thinking about this somewhat quickly, is I say it like this. These are the cards I was dealt. People will say, "Oh, I've had people say this more than once.
Yeah.
Man, I wish I had your story." No, you do not. I wish I had never gone through what I went through. I wish I was a square person with a boring life, with kids and children and whatever. Yeah, I'm successful today. Yeah, I'm well today. Yeah, I have a gift that I can tell stories about these experiences and use them for a positive, means. But I don't, I would, this is what I said to someone one day. I wouldn't wish my past on my worst enemy. My worst enemy. And I don't have quote unquote enemies now, but you do not. I Tim, I want please and listeners hear this. I am a miracle. What I've been through, I'm not saying mine has been the worst. I mean, there's Auschwitz, there's other situations that have happened throughout history that are brutal. But I've been through a lot of pain, probably more than in the United States, than probably 95, 96, 98% of the people have been. Situations I've been in.
I'm not romanticizing it, but I'm from the outside, and I see, like, now you are, when I was 17, I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a writer so bad, I just started asking to be used as an instrument of peace, and I was just speak through me. So you kind of had to go through this journey to become this instrument of peace and a servant. Am I romanticizing this? Yeah. Yeah.
In my book, to me, it is. It's like, we call that, steel tempers steel. The fire forges the steel. And I had to go through the fire. And I'm just not a big proponent of that.
Yeah.
What you did is you went through the fire. Now, what do we do? There are people who have done great things in this world who have not been through the fire. Oh, wait. But everybody that can experience cognitively pain, because some people don't. Okay, ignorance is bliss. Okay, there's people in facilities that don't really feel emotional pain to the extent that others do. But one things I learned is every human has had emotional pain, and what the difficulty is is many times we look at them from the outside, accoutrements or coverings, and we think that they didn't have pain or they're not in pain presently. And that is a disservice
Well
to
said. Yeah.
the human
So
condition.
how do you wind up in jail? And how long were you in jail for? Okay, that's right. You were a couple times.
Which time? Which
Wow.
time? I went to prison. I went to prison 3 times. Okay.
Hmm.
I don't even count jail. I literally don't count jail. I've probably been arrested 20 times, 30 times, but I've been to prison. Prison is felony. Jail is
Mm.
pre-sentencing to do prison time, or you're doing a misdemeanor under 1 year. So, and I've had those. um, drugs. So there's two things. There's drugs,
Mm.
and there's the pursuit of money for drugs. So I did things on drugs because you got to understand what a drug is, dear listener. A drug is a chemical that changes your perception of reality. That's all a drug is. I don't care if it's aspirin, phenol, heroin, methamphetamine, crack cocaine. It changes your perception of reality. Aspirin changes your
Mm.
perception of reality because you don't feel the pain. Okay? I'm talking about especially illicit drugs. All right. So when I always tell people, I say, well, what were you addicted to? I tell people I was addicted to leaving reality. That's what I was addicted to. I just flew a bunch of different ways. I would take any drug as long as you told me it was a drug. I would take it just to change my perception of my present or my reality. Because I didn't like my reality, because my reality said that you are less than. My reality said you are a failure. My reality said that you are shame based. My reality said ...
Hmm.
And this is my reality. That's me talking to me. Okay. You can tell me
It's
anything, but
probably
it's
one of the
what
most
my
destructive
self talk.
forces is our
So,
self-talk.
I do
I, you know, I, the, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is the most
the most
uh,
destructive.
destructive. So how do you survive prison? Or was that a great escape from the street? Yeah.
First of all, jail was. We used to call it a lay it down. I'm gonna get fed, put a little weight on. I don't have to worry about who's looking for me. I don't have to worry about finding a place to live or committing a crime to provide money for my drugs. So and shelter. So yeah, prison became that also, especially the first 2 times, and then the third time was a very different experience for me. So how do you survive? So prison is a world. And I sort of love talking about this because what we do is we belong to different worlds. Okay, we can call it community. Prison is a community. It's all male except for the female employees, and in there are rules. And one of the keys is to understand what the rules are as quickly as possible. Because when you break or transgress against a rule, there can be physical pain involved. Okay. Or the other side of it, there will be lessening of your ability to interact with the world and community. You go into ADSEG, administration segregation, you go into the hole. Okay. Because you've broken the rules. So there's rules from the civilians, the prison, and there's rules from the inmates.
Hmm.
And the more important one is probably the rules from the inmates, because going into a hole for 21 days or 30 days
Wow.
is you're in a room by yourself for 30 days. Okay, great. Sometimes we need that. But if you break a rule with fellow inmates, there could be physical repercussions. You could be killed
Yeah.
because
So
you've
was there
broken
kind of a
specific
an
rules.
awakening moment in jail, or tell me about that, please?
Yes. Oh my goodness. So I go in. So you got to understand. Remember, I'm Ivy League educated. I didn't grow up in the hood. I really didn't grow up around a lot
Hmm.
of brothers, especially a lot of thugs, or individuals. most of them are in there the same reason I'm in there, because drugs and alcohol. But there are individuals they're just dangerous people. So I go in there, I don't know the rules because I've never been in prison. I've been in jail, but jail's different. Jail's really a different community and world. And there's still rules in there, but they're not to the extent. You're going to be locked up with these gentlemen for years. So I go in there and I said and did a few things that I came 95% from getting beat badly, if not killed, because I broke in a transgression against one of the rules. So in the penitentiary, there are two words you never call another man. One is a punk, and you never call another man
Bitch.
a
You
B.
can
The
say
B
anything
word.
here. Yeah.
Female dog word.
Yeah.
Okay? You don't. Yeah, bitch. Okay, I wasn't sure. So you can't you can't. Those two words are done. Because what I'm saying is that you're weak, punk ass bitch. What you gonna do? I'm saying you're weak. Therefore, if you do not fight me, I'm coming for commissary, or you're cleaning my room, or you're providing sexual services. Your choice, or really my choice, of which maybe all of the above. Okay, so I'm playing dominoes with this guy. So when you go in, you have to get what they call, you have to get registered, and then you have to be, I can't remember the word. They'll tell you what unit you'll be going to, what prison you'll go to. But you have like 21 or 28 days. And you're locked in the cell for 47 and a half hours. You get a half hour every 2 days. They leave the cell, but you're with one person. Anyway, we made a set of dominoes off of cardboard, and we're playing, and I said, 20 on your bitch ass. I didn't know that was a word. I didn't know that was a code word. And he transformed in like a second. And the only thing that saved me is I knew him. I knew him from the streets. QB, he's dead. He's died. He died at age 26 from smoking Grimmies.
What's Grimmies?
Smoking cocaine. A Grimmie is a crack cocaine laced weed cigarette.
Wow.
A weed joint.
Yeah.
It's called a Grimmie. And the doctor told him, you cannot do it. Your heart. And 26 years old, 6'3", 230 pounds. And I'm talking from Oakland. He was real. Ronnie Shelton, better known as QB. And a week later, he smoked a Grimmie because his truth was not that truth. And he died at age 26.
Wow.
Okay. But anyway, we're in, and he was a drug dealer. And I'm talking about, he was the real deal from Oakland, which we call town business. And he was from town business, and he was not to be trifled with on the streets or in the penitentiary. But he knew me. And I mean, he knew me, he liked me as a person, even though I'm older than him, but he liked me. But he's the D-boy. We call him D-boys, drug dealer. And he got upset, but then he talked to me. And then I got with an older gentleman, and he laid down the rules, how to do your cell, how to treat. Because it's all, Tim, this is all about respect.
Mm-hmm.
And I've written the book. It's in manuscript, but I have a book on respect and disrespect. And I'm talking about in the boardroom. I'm talking about in the family. I'm talking about, on the streets, in the penitentiary. Respect. Acknowledgement of a person's position or stature within a community.
Good definition.
So when you respect your grandmother, it's because within the community of the family, that's a community. I respect her. I acknowledge her position. This is the matriarch of this family. Same thing in the boardroom, same thing in the church, same thing on the streets. These are different communities. So what is disrespectful to me from the streets and the penitentiary is not the same to you as a civilian. We used to call you civilians. I'm one now, but civilians. I get out of prison the third time. My nephew turned to me. We're going up the escalator in Nordstrom's, 2009. And I've been out of prison now for a couple of years. I did 5 years clean and sober. I'm doing life well. And he turns to me. He said, "Hey, Unc, were you somebody's little bitch in the penitentiary?"
How old was he?
He is the only person. He's like 19,
Okay.
20.
Yeah.
He's the only person that I haven't hit automatically. I got to the landing. I called my brother up. I said, "Mike, this is what Mike Jr. said. ... He said, "Put him on the phone." I gave him my phone. I walked away. He came back 15 seconds. My bad. Because my brother knows what the words
Yeah.
are. He knows. He's from New York. He went to Vietnam. He's a Vietnam vet. I mean, he knows what the words are. But a lot of people don't know what these trigger words are to respect someone. And so if you want to disrespect them, you say those words to an individual who's done time. And it's in every language.
Yeah.
One I remember, Mariposa in Spanish. If you're in a penitentiary, somebody call you a Mariposa, it means butterfly. You're weak. You're effeminate. You're less than.
Yeah.
So therefore, I just called you a butterfly. What you going to do? So anyway, and this is the key, and we can move on from this, is that I had to unlearn. I had to unlearn these words. I took a couple years to try to understand what are the words that trigger me. Because what the trigger does, I have a built-in script that I have to play out because you've said these trigger words.
So, so I heard in a podcast you were in prison and you had like this conversation with God. I'm
Yeah,
curious about one thing, because when I assume, I mean, it's the way I experience it. Is it your own voice when you hear that?
It's a voice inside my
Yeah.
head. Someone asked me on another podcast, did you hear it like auditory?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
It's
no,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when I pray, God talks to
Yeah.
me. Okay. This is what you should do next.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just always wonder, because like when I
meditate, I'm listening.
Yeah. When I'm like walking, I just wrote this essay. I'm not. I'm going to start a Substack because I'm always writing for other people. I need my own creative thing. And, I was on this walk in the park the other day, and I had a distracted mind. I always put on music to distract my brain. And then like this thought dropped in, and it was like, walk as the awakened one. And then it changed my being. And then I just was like, well, how would the awakened one walk? But it always comes in my own voice.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I just know what I heard.
And what did you hear?
And I don't. Oh, I heard God said that what's coming up is not going to be easy. It's not going to be without, and the key part, it's not going to be without pain or discomfort. But I will be there with you. And together we can get to the other side. The key is getting to the other side. Mm-hmm. So many times I've had situations happen and I wouldn't allow myself to get to the other side of the pain. Someone dies, someone is hurt, something happens to me, I get sentenced. When I sat there, I stood there, because you always stand when you're getting sentenced, in front of the judge, and that judge said to me, "Mr. Miller, the next time you come into my courtroom, I am giving you the habitual criminal statute, which is 25 to life." I heard that. It wasn't in my voice.
Yeah.
But he might have been God. He was God to me at that moment.
Yeah.
So, but I couldn't get to, there was a feeling connected to that. Then he sentenced me to 6 years for a $10 rock of crack cocaine.
Wow.
$10 rock, which is the smallest thing you can have. Okay. I get 6 years in the penitentiary, but it was the third time I'd been in front. It's the third felony. I've had drug possession, burglary, and drug sales.
Wow.
Okay.
So
And some people,
go ahead.
no, I'm just gonna say, some people say, well, did you believe him? I said, I still believe him. What do you mean, did I believe
Yeah.
him? And he's in the Supreme Court now, Nevada Supreme Court. He's not even a superior court. And I'm not in Nevada, but I still believe him.
Yeah.
Okay. I just struck out. The very good thing, I just struck out because I also had violence in my record. So I just struck out in California. I could have got life. 25 to life might as well be life, because that's your bottom number. It's 25 years.
So you get out of prison, you don't have any, skills or anything. You have an Ivy League education, so you have some, higher thoughts and functioning. But how do you dig out of this hole?
I was so blessed. And that's the term. What I had a couple things. One, I had my mother, who had a tremendous amount of unconditional love for me. And unfortunately, she was dying at that point. She was congestive heart failure. But I had her. Okay. Number one. And then most importantly, I had God. Number two, I had the programs, the recovery programs, the anonymous programs. Number four, I had my health. Number five, I had my cognitive ability. And I was willing to go without to have later. And that's a real important part. Because what I had is I had an element of maturity. And what that means is I could do things today that will pay off in a year. When you're immature, you do things always in the present or the near future.
Stored value, kind of concept.
Yeah. And then the other thing is I was willing. This is an important one, Tim. This was I call it a fun story. So I get out and I sit down with my first sponsor, a gentleman I'd met in the penitentiary, civilian, and he said, "I'll work with you when you get out." And I said, "Okay." And I go over to his place, and he said, "You ready to work the steps of the anonymous programs?" I said, "Yeah, I'm all good." And I never forget, he said, "No relationships for a year." And I looked at him. I've been locked up for 3 years. I like sex. And I look good. I smell good. I got my jailhouse swell on, we call it. Because I've been lifting weights. And he said no relationships. I heard no sex. And I sat there and looked at him for 10 seconds. I'd love to have a recording of this. And I remember I said to him, "Okay, I know what I want, but you're trying to give me guidance and counsel for long term." And I'll never forget, like 6 months later, though, can we like renegotiate this? And he was so cool. He said, "Yeah, go." He said, "You've done so good, these 6 months." And remember, I got 3.5 years clean at this point. And he said, "Go ahead." And man, so I went back out there. Of course, I had no prospects, no suspects, no nothing. When I first got out, a couple of ladies were knocking on the door, but that was gone.
Yeah.
I'd laugh at that now. So,
wow.
But I was willing.
So what did
go
ahead. Say that again?
No, I said I was the willingness
to say,
take counsel. Was I teachable?
Oh,
that's a very important part. Just let me say one more.
Yeah.
Probably the most important. And I love the spiritual. I love the counsel. I love the prayer. Number one, action. Action. To not drink is an action. And did I have the courage to do the actions? Because remember, all I celebrate is time. I have one goal as an addict and alcoholic, one goal in recovery, and that is to die never having picked up again. That's my goal, is to die. Never
Hmm.
had them picked up again, volitionally. I've been on some drugs. I've had 3 operations. I'm 63 years old. But I tell the doctors I am an addict. And then I have another person control the pain relievers. And haven't had a problem.
Hmm. So what did the 12-step program give you?
Accountability, a goal. There's certain steps to the program which are really, really good for me. And I'm talking about the 5th step. We made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And then we share it with another person. Had to put the truth out, and that helps in taking away some of the shame. And then my favorite step is the 11th step. We sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will and the power/courage to carry it out. My favorite step. I've gone back into that step probably more than any other step. Not more than any other step, because we already have the first step. It's my go-to when I have a problem. I can't remember all the prayers. I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah.
prayers that I have, but I always go back to what's God's will? What is the next indicated correct thing to do in this situation? Not the thing that does 2 things. When my self-will is in opposition with God's will, it's because of 2 things. One, I'm seeking pleasure. And number 2, I'm trying to put off pain. And remember, God said He'll be with me if I have discomfort or pain. So I'm putting off pain
Hmm.
because that's easier for me, but it's not best for my family. It's not best for the community. It's not best for my children, okay, or stepchildren. So that was a lesson I had to learn, but I've learned that lesson. And so now I go and I pray for God's will, and then I also pray for that courage to do the thing that's the right thing to do, but maybe not the thing that's the most advantageous, especially pleasure-wise or fear-wise to me.
Hmm. Well, it certainly sounds like from where you sit now, your prayers have been answered and
Mhm.
continue to be answered. So what was, somebody must have given you a break. How do you get,
People.
out of this and into a steady life and job and all that stuff?
I'm just interested. I'm just thinking about the word break.
Yeah.
People,
Opportunity.
yes, that's a much better word for me. People
Yeah.
gave me opportunity.
Yeah.
Gentleman comes into the penitentiary. We're at the meeting, NA meeting. There's 1,100 men on the yard. We call it the yard. That's the prison. And there were times there were only 2 of us at that meeting. And believe me, could have been 600, 500, but just 2 of us. But I was one of
Hmm.
them. Okay. White guy comes in, says, "This is who I am, ... And, he's here to share the program. In the penitentiary, it's racial. So I don't really deal with or communicate a lot with whites or Hispanics because I'm Black. Okay. That's the way many penitentiaries are. And then these guys like, I'll be your sponsor when you get out. I'm like, God, but you're a white dude. But again, I had to go into prayer and thought, and I'm trying to break away from this world. Remember, I spent 20 years, streets, penitentiary, . So it's a hard world for me to break away with. So anyway, he made an offer to me. That's what it is. It's a door. And the door was, I'll work with you, but you need to be not in relationships for a year. Okay. All right. Let's go through that door. And I did. And we're friends to this day. And that was, 18 years ago. Then there were other individuals. The first person that hired me, when I got out, I'm a 3-time convicted felon. I had worked for him before and disappeared on at least 2 occasions. I mean, just disappeared. I'm an employee and now I'm not.
Wow.
Now I'm gone. I've been gone away for like 3-4 years when I went back to him. And he said, yeah, I'll give you another shot because you were really good when you worked. And I'm like, I appreciate that. And that got me a foundation there. And then, there's so many people. I'm a big believer in serendipity, and I'm a big
Mm-hmm.
believer in walking through doors. And I've walked through a lot of doors since then. People have given me an opportunity. But then you get in the room. What are you going to do when you get in the room? That's the important. What is the
Mm-hmm.
actions? I don't care what the motivation is. I don't care what you say. What are you going to do when you get in that door? You gave me an opportunity, Tim, to be on your podcast. What am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do to be a value added to the listener? But you gave me an opportunity, and I appreciate that. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for all the listeners who are listening or will be listening to this podcast. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I I gave you an opportunity, if you want to use that word, because I was inspired by your story. And I mean, it's profound, and I think it gives a lot of people hope, no matter what their lot is in life. They're like, okay, there is a better tomorrow.
Yeah, the reason I wrote it, I wrote it for two
Yeah.
reasons. One, everybody said, you need to write a book.
Yeah.
You must understand something.
Mm-hmm.
The book, that is like 1/3. I spoke, because I had a ghostwriter, I spoke for 83 hours. 83.
Wow.
There's 3 or 4 more books that are not in there. And there's certain things I couldn't put in there for legal reasons. And
Mm-hmm.
also, out of respect to certain individuals, I don't talk about them, even though they were a profound part of my life. I can't. I choose not to. That's my choice. But
Mm-hmm.
I did, talk about quite a few things. But the stories are just a means to the end, which is, and you'll see at the end of each chapter, if you've read or even if you've listened to it, is how do we get out of this? How do we bounce back from this
Mm-hmm.
setback? What are our next steps? Because in the end, I'm not saying my way is the only way, because I don't really have a way, but I will tell you this: I'm well today. I'm well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many people that have gone through the experiences I have at any magnitude of the severity of the experience that are not well today.
Yeah. Um, so what is your life like today? I mean, you have what, 5 businesses or something like that? And I mean, I
Or,
guess the thing that I'm really interested in for businesses is your role as a mentor.
mm-hmm.
And what brought you to that, and then what do your mentors actually teach you in the process?
Oh, it teaches me a lot. So this is great. So I have been explicitly mentoring for 15 years. Yeah, 2010, 2011. I began with Xavier Mason, who I still mentor, because mentoring is open-ended. And I said, until you fire
Mm-hmm.
me, I'll mentor you. Even though I did have to, 2 years ago, I had to go from 29. I chose to go from 29 to 10, just because I didn't have the
Mm-hmm.
capacity to mentor 29 men all over the country. For years, all I did was Black men. I still do not mentor women, probably will never mentor a woman. That's my choice, my decision. It's part of my marriage. But I do now have mentees who are white.
Mm-hmm.
But I started in 1985 looking for a mentor. 'Cause I was told you should get a mentor. I'm out of
Mm-hmm.
college. And so I got a mentor. And in fact, the gentleman who's my mentor is a gentleman I met back in like 1987. One of my mentors. I have like 3 mentors. And I have 4 generations of Black men mentoring Black men. I'm very explicit in mentoring. So I have one goal as a mentor. I tell it to every gentleman that wants to be mentored by me. My goal is to engender your dream. What's your dream? This is what I say to them. What is your dream? This is the first meeting. And I give you permission to dream. Somebody would say, well, what kind of ego is that? You give them permission. You don't understand, in the Black community and in many other communities, the ability to dream has been taken away because people say, you can't do that. You'll never be able to do that. How dare you even think that you can do that? Graduate from college, get a doctorate, or have a business that, generates $1 million in profit or whatever. How dare you? Because sometimes your success is a reflection of my lack of success or lack of being well.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's what I say. And I shut up and let them think. And then we articulate the dream. I give them time. It may take them. I've had people sit there for 10, 15 minutes, like in shock. Black men, grown Black men, trying to articulate.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it doesn't change, because we've changed. Or we've met dreams. Now we need a new one. And I'm going to assist you in that.
Yeah.
So part of what I do, and there's like 4 different things I do with them.
Yeah. I mean, so many people project their own limitations onto another person's dream. And then there's, maybe, and then for some reason, when we're young, a experience turns into the experience where a teacher or something is like, oh no, you're not good at that. And they shut that off, and they kind of go off in a different direction. The whole book that I wrote is Dream Tethering. It's kind of a framework of consciousness, but the other way I define a dream is like, the first one is outside of space and time. Inside of space and time, it's just, a dream is just the thoughts, feelings, and emotions you want to experience in a physical reality. And then what you say is, I say then you have to align the mind, body, spirit in right thinking, right feeling, right action, and most importantly, perhaps right language, because language is the operating system of the universe. But action is the one that I think so many people have such a hard time with. Why do you think it is the action? Is it a mental block? Is it the fear of failure?
2 things. Or 2, one that I'll talk about right now. Fear and sloth. And a lot of people don't talk about sloth or laziness. And it's one of the 7 deadly sins, okay, for a good reason. Because it's inaction, sloth, it's laziness. And then many people will, or they'll give the reasons. What they're doing is they procrastinate, or they don't do it, or whatever it may be. It's lazy. There are individuals that are comfortable in inaction. In a lot of action is uncomfortable, literally by the nature of it. It's expenditure of energy. And some people don't want to expend the energy in something that is not pleasurable, or even baseline, or like I call water. That's just, they don't want to spend anything that causes discomfort. I have a whole talk I do on grinding. It's one of my favorite terms. But I also, as a talk that I do, and you had a question on how my mentors help me. I do a talk on dreams. And I said, there's components to dreams. It's like a mathematical formula to make this dream come to fruition. You have the aspiration, the dream, the goal, what is called that. Like I'll tell people, what's your dream? To make $1 million. So that's not a dream, that's a number. Tell me how you're going to feel when that happens. What is that going to open up for you? What can you do with that? You have to paint a picture, because that's the aspiration, to aspire for. Okay? But a number is a number. Okay. So we have the dream. To now get started, we need some components. We need a plan. We need action. We need plan and action can equal the dream. But if you want to take it to another level, you want to add two more things. You want to add inspiration / faith, and you want to add accountability. And if you can add those 4 or 5 items, it will assist you tremendously in the dream. So what am I as a mentor? I'm the accountability. Sometimes I'm the inspiration. I'm not God, so I hope I'm not faith for you. Okay. But I am definitely accountability. Guys, when we meet, how are we doing on this? Did we get that certification? Did we do that interview? Whatever it may be toward this dream. But a lot of times what happens is so a lot of people, they don't understand the components. And I'm talking about dreams definitely in the temporal world and the physical world. Okay. And then let's get away from a marker, but I'd rather you start thinking about the picture of this future aspiration. And because again, you can go back to the picture, the feeling that you will have at that time. I can do this for my kids. I can put them in this school, or I can provide this horseback riding because I've reached this position where all my income is not just going toward the bills. I can do things for others because I've reached that. So I have a number, but the number is just a number. But it's more important is what I can do for my family, for my wife, for my community, for my nonprofits that I want to support.
Yeah, service is a very important component.
Can be.
I wonder, just out of curiosity for myself, do you see a difference between faith and trust, or are they the same?
No, they're not the same. And I said that very quickly because I usually don't go that quick, but I just have a pretty strong feeling on, I understand trust. I talk about trust. So I have these words. So let me say this word, and I'm gonna come back to this. What do I do when I work with my mentees? So at one point I had 28 mentees, one sponsee. What I would do is I allocate 1 hour of time every 2 months at that point. Every 2 or 3 months, but usually at the beginning it was 2 months and then went to 3 months. 1 hour. And I always have a topic, but every meeting starts the same. Every meeting. Tell me about a win. I always want, because I want them to see themselves as successful. Because they always want to talk about challenges, concerns, and problems. I always say, no, you know how we start? And they, oh, yeah, tell you about a win. Okay. So we get that out of the way. Then they'll talk about challenges, concerns, or whatever, and I will give them feedback. Remember, everything I give you is a suggestion. And then I always have a topic for all 28 gentlemen, have the same topic. Let's talk about fathers. And believe me, after you've talked about for 3 or 4 hours, because I would do like 8 a day, over a 3 to 4 day period, I got 28 of them. I've heard so much from them. And then after 28 guys of speaking about fatherhood for 28 hours, so they helped me tremendously. So let's go back to trust, because that's one of the words I've talked about. Trust is a belief in a future perceived action. That's what trust is. Okay? It's a perceived. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's a belief in a perceived future action. So when I say, I give you $20 to go to the store to pick up some eggs and chicken, I just made up something. I have a belief that the future action is you'll take my $20, go pick up what's needed, and bring back the change. A belief in a perceived future action. Now, faith, you can have a component can be trust. You trust that the perceived future action that God will provide for me is the fortitude, courage, and real important, the knowledge of what my next steps that will glorify him are. So trust can be a component of faith, but I believe faith is a lot bigger. There's more components of faith
Yeah.
than just trust. Great
Well, you just
question, though.
answered my
Thank
next
you.
question.
Okay.
Yeah,
Go
you
ahead.
just answered my next question because I was going to put trust. I was going to ask in the context of God, but
Okay.
you already answered that, and
Right.
I asked that because as a writer, which is a pathless path, if I had to distill my work into two pillars, it would be surrender and trust, because that's what I'm trying to master in this life, and it is a lot harder than just speaking it into existence. It's those moments by yourself with your thoughts and a fork in the road. And but
Which
I was
which
gonna
type of
say,
surrender?
well, that's a great question. I would say surrender to God's will, surrender to my path for the highest good, as
Let
opposed
me
to
speak
maybe
to that
what
for a
my
second.
ego wants. Yeah.
So there's two different types of surrender:
Mm-hmm.
unconditional surrender and conditional surrender.
Mm.
God, I will surrender to you for everything except for that girl. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll,
Yeah.
because we put conditions. Anytime we try to negotiate with God, we are playing God. Okay.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay.
That is good.
What's the
Yeah.
greatest sin? The greatest sin, this again, me just speaking. Okay. I'm no theologian, but I'll tell you what, the greatest sin is the sin of pride. Because the sin of pride is, I am a God unto thyself. Therefore, I don't have to play by your rules if you so believe God.
Mm-hmm.
Satan, if you ever read Paradise Lost, was thrown out of heaven because he wanted to be equal with God. God's like, you can't be equal. You're one of my archangels. I don't know if you know the Bible, but anyway, Satan's
Yeah.
an archangel. Okay, he's up there with
Mm-hmm.
Gabriel and the other archangels. But he wants to be equal. That's the book. And then God says, no, I cast thee into Hades. And that's, Paradise Lost. But so that's what
Yeah.
I did when I was prideful, because there's only two wills: there's God's will and self-will. But you can also align your self-will with God's will. Okay, it's still God's will,
Mm-hmm.
but self-will that's in opposition to God's will, I'm playing God. I am playing God. Pretty fervent about this. And,
Mm-hmm.
and again, this is what has worked for me, because what I do is when I'm in a situation, I think, okay, what does Ken want to do? And why does he want to do it? Because there's two reasons I play God and I take self-will in opposition to God's will. There's only two reasons. One, I'm seeking pleasure, and one, I'm trying to put off pain. Okay? And pain is a
Yeah.
gift. And when I try to fight that because I don't want to feel it, but remember, that's what my conversation with God in October 2004 was about, was walking
Mm-hmm.
through with him. And I've walked through tremendous pain, tremendous emotional pain, but I'm on
Yeah.
the other side now.
Yeah.
I will have more.
I just what's that?
I said, I am
What'd you say?
guaranteed I will have more pain. But again,
Oh
thank
yeah.
God I feel pain. The pain of loss is a beautiful thing. That
Mm-hmm.
means I cared about that person so much. I have two people in hospice right now. Two in hospice.
Yeah.
It's a matter of when the transition is. Okay.
Yeah.
And will be a sense of loss, but this too shall pass, and I'll get to the other side. That's the other thing, Tim. As a grown 60-year-old, 63-year-old Black man, ex-con, ex-addict, I cry. I have no problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
I would shed tears. Hey man, you put Gladiator on when he walks through that field at the end. Bruh, I'm English patient, Braveheart,
Yeah.
Saving
Yeah.
Private
I
Ryan.
love it. Yeah. It's not funny, but my mother was on hospice. My dad passed away in 2004, my mom 2010. And, when I go there, when I allow myself to go there, the tears still flow like it was just like it just happened. I guess that is the beauty of that experience and that longing and
His
that,
beauty.
you know, imprint of love that was gifted to us.
I didn't cry on the streets. I can tell you that now. I didn't cry on the streets.
Yeah,
You know, you give me the right drugs, I'm not crying. Okay. But
yeah,
today I have
that's
the
true.
ability to honor that person with my tears. You've touched me in
Hmm.
such a profound, sublime way, Mom, that I'll cry. It doesn't happen often. But something will give
Yeah,
me a memory or remembrance, and it's beautiful. I'm just so blessed and so grateful I had that time with you. You know, and
yeah,
this is a part that wants to beat myself up. I can beat myself up, make myself feel less than because I wasted so many decades
hmm,
of being able to experience her. But my mother, probably same with your parents, and I don't want to, say something, make an assumption. But
yeah.
my mom still talks to me. She still talks to me.
Oh yeah.
You know what she says?
Hmm.
I'll give you one. Kenneth, she always called me Kenneth. Kenneth, you don't have to act the way you feel. Yeah, you're down, you're depressed. You don't have to let the world know that. You don't have to act that way just because you feel it.
Yeah,
Still, that's just one of many
yeah.
words of wisdom.
I feel like my mom is orchestrating things in the external world, and when she passed away, I wound up connecting with my mentor, Dr. Joe Dispenza, who sort of changed my life, and I wound up working with him for a long time and stuff like that. Um, I love the word sublime, by the way. I'm going to
Mhm.
internalize that and look out at the world as I go for my walk today through sublime eyes. Um, the other thing I was going to say when you were talking about, pain, when I was just writing this new thing, I've, when I'm in the right state of being, I view pain and trauma as gifts to unbox, because that, releases our shackles kind of from the past. I guess it depends on, again, you'd have to go into the definition of pain, but I guess I'm thinking of like sort of emotional and, mental sort of trauma and stuff like that. But um, I was gonna ask you, if you could go back and speak to the version of you in the middle of your addiction, what would you say now? Or what would you say to him?
First of all, he wouldn't listen. I can tell you that right now.
Mm.
Yeah, if I
Hmm.
came back and talked to him, he would wonder what was in that drug. Okay.
Hmm.
But if I did, I know what I would say. I love you. You have value. I love you and you have value.
Mm.
And this too shall pass. So hang in there. And the crazy thing, nobody said that to me. I didn't say that to myself, but that's what happened. But if I could, I would
Hmm.
love to go back and the age, this is important. It's not in the addiction. It's when I was 6, when I got
Oh,
adopted.
wow. Say more.
That's the child that needs to be
Wow.
talked to. Yep. Yep.
Okay. Well, tell me what you would say to 6-year-old Ken.
You weren't thrown away. You understand? I was 4 years old. I knew I was a foster child, I'd go to different foster homes all the
Wow.
time. Somebody threw me away. And that's the way I looked at it, because that's how I'm 4 years old. How else am I going to articulate that? I have no mother. I have no mother. You go off to school, I'm in kindergarten, first grade, they got moms. Why don't I have a mother? I have this woman that's taking care of me, Mrs. Burke. Not Mrs. Burke, Mrs. Turley, Olive Turley, in Amityville, New York, 1968. But she's the last of 20, 30 that I know of. I didn't know what was happening when I was 2. But you see what I'm saying? But I knew that. And because of that,
Yeah.
I felt alone. Tim, my fundamental, and I've spent a lot of years looking at this, my
Mm-hmm.
fundamental core issue is that and I told myself I was going to die alone. I've always thought I was alone. Always thought I was alone.
Yeah.
And that I would die alone. Still an issue, core. It's just not to the severity. And so what happens is, because I wanted so much to be loved, I picked up defense mechanisms that were not good for me as an adult or even as a child. I dealt the things that I learned. I was 7 years old when I started lying, and I lied a lot because I was trying to
Mm-hmm.
create a world or trying to create an environment where people treated me in a certain way because I told them an untruth as a 7-year-old child. And, and I continue that until my adulthood. Probably I really just stopped in the last 5. And I'm not perfect. Don't look,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to say, I was going to say my taxes. I'm not perfect. I'm really good.
Yeah.
Really good. Okay. So,
Wow.
but
That
that's
that
who
is
I
a
talk to.
very, yeah. That is a profound insight. Because I think so many of our, there are core wounds, and they're like shot a grappling hook out in the future. And if we don't become aware of them, they still hold this invisible seat at the table of our life.
Oh, for sure.
And,
For sure.
part of this human journey is extracting those so we can become free to become, whoever we want. And so, a last question here. If you, what advice would you give people who are in the midst of their dream or starting out on their dream?
Step one, you got to have a plan. No, even
Mm,
but before the plan, this is the crazy part about the dream. You have to define the dream in writing or something that's visual. Because the problem is so many people just have the dream up in their head, and it's easy to get
mm-hmm.
diffuse, and it's easy to not have it defined. What is the marker? Okay, I want to make $1 million. Okay, that's just a marker, that's just a number. What Paint a picture of what your life will be like then. Paint a picture of what you'll be able to do for others or yourself. Tell me what your self-talk will be when you've reached this goal. That's a big one. Okay. Tell me how
Mm,
you're going to talk to yourself. Because I've reached goals and aspirations and dreams, and my self-talk is, attaboy. I work hard. I've worked hard. I've grinded to get where I'm at today. I have a beautiful house here. I have property in South America, beautiful family, all the accoutrements of what the world looking in would say is success. But most importantly, my self-talk is self-affirming today. I like me. Tim, I am good on podcasts. I truly say I'm good on the
mm-hmm.
stage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good when I write books. I'm good in my relationships with my fellow man. I'm good and I treat people with respect, kindness, and gentleness. And there's a couple of people I'm not thrilled about how they've treated me, but I'm cool.
Mm-hmm.
I've forgiven them, and I've never said a negative, bad word or threat towards them. I can't say a negative word. There's probably people I've shared with to let them know how I feel about this situation. But anyway, I like me.
Mm-hmm.
I am comfortable. I tell people I'm
Yeah.
not in an adversarial relationship with self. And I stopped playing God. My pride. So what I told you was what my truth is. My truth is I'm a good speaker. That's the truth. My truth is
Mm-hmm.
I've been on 100. I just looked at it yesterday. I've been on 135 podcasts. 135 I've been a
Mm-hmm.
guest on. I'm a different guest than my first two podcasts. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you get experience on the guesting. I'm good at certain things. And this is another thing, Tim, I'd love to share with the audience. I wrote a book called I'm Good with Good. I don't want to be great. Now, you can define me any way you want to define me, external world, but I'm good with good. Why? Because
Mm-hmm.
what I'm doing is not anti, but I'm not the good to great Collins series. I'm like sort of against that because most people, what I found out, most people don't have the capacity to be great. You do not have the capacity. And I'd rather be good at something and then take the excess capacity and spend it with my grandchildren, spend it with my wife, spend it with my mentees, spend it with my sponsees. Because for me to be great, I cannot allocate the capacity of time and money because I'm too much in pursuit of being great. So I'm good with good. So I've pretty much written it, but I've written a whole book on being good with good. And it also it's freeing. It's freeing.
Yeah. Wow. Man, Ken, you dropped a lot of wisdom bombs. It's really profound, some profound information. I'm grateful that we
Thank you.
connected. Where can people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Ken Miller 84 is my LinkedIn. My book's on Amazon. It's called Becoming Ken. It's on Amazon and Audible. And then also, if you would like, you can always email me at ken@kenmillerspeaks.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. And, I'm really
Thank
happy
you.
you pulled yourself out of the gutter to share this wisdom with the world. And I'm super happy that you're happy and, living a successful life. And that you are out there mentoring people because that's so important.
Mhm.
Folks, share and like this podcast. I think it can do a lot of good for a lot of people. So on that, we'll call this a wrap. Ken Miller, thanks again.